On this weekly injection, I am going to talk about gates. You can think of gates as a mute button that can be automated. Typically, a gate will mute the sound, and then when the sound comes in and it reaches a certain threshold, then the gate will open. It was typically used back in the day of analog tape. You would get a lot of hiss. So muting the channel whenever no instruments was playing meant that you would reduce the noise overall. But gates can be used for lots of reasons. Another typical use for gates is to clean up the sound of drums. So for example, if you have toms that only come in every now and then, you can mute automatically to chop off any other spill coming from the other elements of the drums so that your tom sound becomes clearer. Same applies for the kick drum. You might want to gate that to avoid unwanted noises coming from other instruments. Of course, when it comes to drums, you have to fine-tune so that you can get your sound nice and dry. Gates can also be used to shape the sound of drums. So for example, if you want to reshape the sound of a snare drum, you can use the gate to close right when the snare is still ringing, so you chop off a little bit of the ringing. Or for example, you can play with the attack time so that when the snare comes in, there is a little moment where the gate is about to open, and you can make decisions about that transient to enhance it or to moderate it. So practically, you can use gates to shape any percussive sound. If you have recorded vocals in a less than ideal situation and you have a little bit of reverb coming from the room, you can use a gate to chop off the reverb. So every time the vocals are not going, the gate will mute the channel and you don't get the tail of that reverb. That way you can make your vocals sound closer. And finally, my favorite way of using gates is to use them as sequencers. How would you do that? Let me explain. You take a gate and you have it externally triggered by a signal. That signal is going to be 16 notes from your drum machine or from your hi-hat, or you can program just a click or a rim shot to play every 16 note. Then the gate will open every 16 note. So if you pass the sound of a pad, for example, instead of being, it will become. That is a very clever way of getting a different sequencer sound. This is a trick that the Kraftwerk used to do a lot. If you listen to the song Neon Lights from the album Robots, they use exactly that trick. They took a 16-note signal and they opened the gate regularly and played a pad through it. Listen to it. It's right. And also, you can play with the attack and with the release to decide how fast this chopping will occur. I hope this makes you more curious about gates so that you can try to experiment with them. We have lots of information on our blog. Just go to drmix.com/blog and use the search bar. Also, if you really want to learn about mixing, you can try with our video course called The Official Guide to Mixing. You can get it at 20% off when you click on the link in the description. And gate away.